على رسول الله وبعد. After having given thanks to Almighty Allah for sparing our lives to witness another edition of this program tagged Muslim State Affairs. So I welcome you, our esteemed viewers and listeners, to this edition. And likewise, I welcome my Ustadh again. You are mostly welcome, Ustadh.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Ustadh, yesterday you made mention expected to be treated today. So you said colonial interest, and seconded by the term Balfour Treaty of 1917. So how do these two relate with the issue of Israel-Palestine crisis?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you once again for having me here.
Yes, welcome, sir.
I will quickly go into the, I would say, open explanation as regards why colonial interest played a major role in setting the pace for what the entire world witnesses around the Israeli-Palestinian crisis.
Okay.
Without any flight of fancy, there was a problem, I would say, within Europe. That was before the First World War. The problem initially had to do with the socio-cultural relationship between the original Europeans. They were only concerned with whatever affected them. And it was that same attitude, that same figment that they brought down to Europe. Anywhere the Jews were found, anywhere in Europe, they would surely perpetrate evils.
Okay.
So like I told you yesterday, anyone can make an attempt to challenge whatever we say here. Anywhere the Jews were found in Europe, they would surely perpetrate evils. So then were like fed up with this seemingly unchanging nature of the Jews. They were looking for where to put them. Okay. They were looking for a particular land that would house the then Jews who were constituting a problem. No, don't forget that before then, they had constituted a problem within the Spanish society. Okay. People will say during the Second World War there was let me say there is what is called a Holocaust. We say in order to put the happenings around the personalities of the Jews or the Jewry within the proper context, we would say that Holocaust did not begin as an aftermath of the Second World War.
How did it begin?
The first Holocaust occurred in Spain. Okay. The first Holocaust. And what do people refer to as Holocaust? It is a calculated attempt at annihilating a people, at getting a people wiped out. That first occurred in Spain, and it was during the attempts to get Spain Christianized that occurred. Okay. During the reign of King Ferdinand and his wife Queen Isabella. So that was the perpetrators of evil. So that was how things were going until the spheres of interest, political interest, around Iraq and Sham fell within the pendulum of power of the British government. Okay. Sham and Iraq fell within the sphere or the colonial sphere of the Great Britain.
So you mean, what you mean by that is that rather the Sham, by the word that the region, the countries that are there in Sham. Okay. So they were colonized by the Britain.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Okay. So they were colonized. It's the period in question, during which this occurred, was very close to the beginning of the First World War.
First World War occurred when?
Between 1914 and 1918. Between 1914 and 1918. Okay. We don't want to dig deeper into the causes of the war, but we know that a number of its events came as the aftermath of the Berlin Conference of 1882. Okay. Some of the events didn't go down well with a number of European powers then. Don't forget, Germany herself was a European power. as at the period when the treaty of led to the First World War. So in the First World War, as the war started, things were going normal for Britain. Britain was, advancing. She was advancing up to a point when she felt that should she go forward, Germany would win. And Britain realized that is why, I'm tracing why at the initial stage, it was only the UK that gave the impetus for the creation of the State of Israel. So at a point, I'm still tracing the one of the consequences rather that usually go with wars or waging a war. Britain got to know that if she should continue with the war, she would lose. And she did what we call a background check into the source of the vortex, the strength that the German army actually were exuding. She discovered that the bulk of the German army constituted what? The Jewish force. So after the discovery that the chunk of the might of the German army actually revolved around the Jewry, Britain sat down and looked for a way to caress the Jews,
to win the Jews
onto our side. And how could she have won the Jews onto our side without a promise that I will look for you a perpetual place? That was what happened. Historians know this.
Can you mention names?
If people have the interest of knowing further, actually, what informs what we are discussing, they should go and read an historical book titled Europe between 1879 and 1979, written by Albert Peacock. So they will see this there. Britain wanted to win the Jews onto her side. By 1916, she caressed the Jews. Actually, they moved away from the German army. And don't forget, Hitler himself was part of the German army that participated in the First World War. He knew all that happened. He knew that the German Jewry betrayed the entire German army. So by 1917, a number of moves were pushed forward to ensure that the promise Britain made in the preceding year came to fruition, entered into Balfour Treaty. At this point in time, the Jews in the whole world had been dispersed into different corners of the world. The dispersion didn't come as a result of the fact that some people send them packing from Palestine, because that is a wrong notion that some people are carrying around. Nobody sent them packing. They first moved out of out of Palestine during the period of Abraham himself, alayhi salam, but they didn't stay for a long time in Egypt until they came back to Palestine. But when it was the period of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, they left en masse from Palestine to Egypt. They spent years, over 600 years in Egypt, before they were able to relocate back to Palestine. Subsequent years witnessed how the Jews were leaving Palestine. That is what they call exodus. Sometimes through outside forces that would come to Palestine to persecute them. Sometimes they went out of Palestine of their own volition. So that was how things were until the period we are now tracing. So the 1917 treaty gave the Jews that sense of entitlement to the land they had left some centuries back.
God knows when.
Since God knows when. Thank you very much. So they had the promise, and they were happy that a promise of that magnitude was coming at a time they most needed it. So they fell for the promise, and it wasn't a promise alone. It was a promise backed by action. Britain ensured that the land, or let me say some of the lands or the land areas she was controlling within Palestine were given to the Jews. So by 1918, the remnant of the Jews in Palestine by population were just 55,000.
In 1918.
In 1918.
They were the remnant
of the Jews who are still resident in Palestine were 55,000.
55,000. Okay.
So by 1918. So between 1918 and 1948, when the state of Israel was declared on the global platform, we've had 686,000 Jews. 86,000 Jews. Where did they come from?
What a progression.
Where did they come from? What this points to is very simple.
Okay.
Prior to 1918,
Okay.
and before 1948, a number of European communities had got fed up with the presence of the Jews in their midst. So they wanted to send them packing.
Okay.
They wanted to send them
By
packing. By every possible means. But they did not want to discard them just like that.
Okay.
They were looking for a place that the Jews themselves will claim to be their perpetual home.
Okay.
They thought of Uganda. They thought of Sudan.
Uganda?
Initially, Uganda, Sudan.
Did they have any connection with Africa?
There isn't any connection. However historically remote.
Okay.
Between the Jews and the people of Uganda. Okay. Neither do the Jews have any connection with the people of Sudan.
Okay.
So they knew that that plan had already died before its arrival. So they looked into how they could situate the Jews within Palestine. Okay. So which they did conveniently through the machination of Britain herself, right from 1918. And she completed that in 1948.
Okay.
Before 1948, another point to show that Europe was fed up with the continued presence of the Jews. Between 1939 and 1945, during which the Second World War took place, Poland had the highest population of Jews in the whole of Europe then.
Okay.
But she was fed up. Not only that, she was fed up. The war, Second World War, made Poland to look for a way to keep the remaining Jews alive because Hitler wanted to kill them all. Okay. Truly, there were up to 200,000 Jews in Poland. 130,000 of whom migrated from Germany
to Poland,
looking for an asylum.
Okay.
The whole 200,000 Jewry in Poland, where did they go to after the Second World War? So for you to know that the state of Israel was intentionally created, and it was intentionally created within the heart center of the Arab world for a reason.
And what is the reason?
The reason is simple. One time I'm a Russian president, or should we say a Russian premier.
Okay.
Don't let me use the word premier. Let me call him president. Mikhail Gorbachev.
Okay.
In 1988, he came down to Europe. Okay. Sorry, he came down to the UK, to precise, and gave a lecture in a hall in Leeds, in the UK. During the lecture, he was saying that a number of other European nations usually ascribe a vote of no confidence on Russia with respect to the fact that if there are people who hate the Jews in the whole of Europe, they are the Russians. And he said rather, if any nation will be part of the other European nations that implanted Israel within the heart center of Palestine, it should be Russia. That Russia was part of the nation that implanted. You look at the word.
The word implanted.
Implanted.
Now
Gorbachev said that Israel was implanted, and truly it was.
That beggars another question.
Okay.
The Balfour Treaty.
Okay.
It included how many countries, to precise?
The Balfour Treaty majorly included British representatives with a number of spokespersons within the Jewish community. Don't forget, I said Britain wanted to win the heart of the Jews onto our side, now to win the war. And it was when the Jewry, who had initially formed the bulk or the backbone of the German army, shifted to the British side, that the war became a lost treasure for Germany. They strengthened the British army.
So that has explained the reason why close to 6 million Jews
Okay.
as reported, actually, was killed in the Second World War.
Oh, people say that we wouldn't say it isn't true because there are records for that.
The record said 6 billion Jews was killed.
There are records for that. There are records for that.
So what is your take on that?
Sometimes when we go through,
did Germany feel betrayed? Was that a recognition?
Initially, no nation would have taken it lively,
Okay.
with a kind of community that betrayed you whenever you felt you are in the lodge.
Oh, okay.
Germany felt betrayed.
Okay.
And I told you earlier that Adolf Hitler was part of the German army during the First World War.
So
he saw it all. He knew that the German army were betrayed truly.
Okay.
And who betrayed them? He knew it was the Jewry.
Okay. Now, Ustadh, back to Israel-Palestine issue.
Okay.
What can you suggest as an everlasting solution?
That is.
We've read a lot of writings in this regard, saying that there's no going to be an end to this perpetual crisis.
That's going to be a good, a big question.
Okay.
I don't foresee as we speak.
Okay.
I don't foresee as we speak
Okay.
an everlasting solution to the problem at hand.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Why?
If we say there's going to be an everlasting solution, it means the European powers who are instrumental to the creation of Israel,
Okay.
as we have it today, will be ready to take them back into their communities.
That
can never
would be next to
happen.
impossible.
That can never happen because we've had successive American presidents,
Okay.
successive American administrations,
Okay.
who threw their weight behind the Israelis.
Now, thank you. That leads us to another question, Ustaz.
Okay.
Why is America interested in anything Israel? Why?
America
Because
will.
they always, like you rightly said, always throw their weight behind Israel or anything Israel. Why?
America will be interested till eternity,
Okay.
in the continued existence of the created state of Israel.
Okay.
You know why? That state of Israel that has been created is at the, I would say, a strategic position within the Middle East.
Okay.
Where we have Palestine is very strategic. It connects Africa with Asia.
Okay.
And it is also like a confluence to a number of European societies.
Okay.
So America, going by where she has positioned herself, feels that she's still the world police. Are you following?
Okay.
She will always want to be interested in whatever goes on within the Middle Eastern region.
Okay.
And there must be a mold for that.
Through which
she periscopes whatever happens in the Middle East.
And through which they carry out their.
That is just it, and that is Israel for you.
Okay.
I said there have been successive American administration who had thrown their weight behind Israel.
Exactly.
One major one is Harry Truman. Harry Truman, who was the America's president between 1945 and 1953.
Okay.
He knew that the present Jews in Israel, near Tel Aviv, were brought there from a place, and he threw his weight behind them. In fact, between 1963 and 1969, Lyndon Johnson, who was the America's president, was accused, and he couldn't defend the accusation of keeping the Jews. He was accused of importing the Jews into Palestine and keeping them to kill the Palestinians.
Okay.
So what could have called for that?
Now, Ustadh, thank you for that powerful enlightenment. May Allah continue to strengthen you. So, for the benefit of those who are just joining us, we are on the program Muslim State Affairs. So, we have our Ustadh Taoheed. So, Ademola Kamordeen. So, may Allah continue to strengthen him.
Amen.
So, you can have series of his lectures on the YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search engine Type TMCDD. So there are a series of lectures so on different issues. Now, Ustadh, somebody sent me this message. He said, let us educate ourselves a little. Israel population. So the person broke it down. Judaism 74%, Islam 17.8%, Christian 2%, Druze 1.6%, Samaritanism and Baha'i 4.4%. Now the person went ahead to also do the same for Palestine. He said Muslims in Palestine are 75%,
Sure.
Christians 20%, others 5%. Now, this led us to another question, sir. A religious group of people in Nigeria, to be precise, has chosen to be indifferent to the plight of the people in Palestine. However, there are a number of Christians in there. And in another side, aren't we Muslims being unnecessarily emotional?
Maya, permit me to use this word.
Okay.
Whoever says or thinks Muslims the world over, or the Nigerian Muslims are too much emotional over the issue that pertains to the Palestinian crisis, must be a weirdo. I'm very sorry for using that word.
Okay.
How do you expect that, how do you expect that in a society where mediocrity in all ramifications is the order of the day, there will be reactions against when our humanity is being compelled to go on the brinks. This is a society where a mosque, for that matter, was demolished in a particular state here, one of the states in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And the next day, we all saw I would say a supposed religious leader coming out to say that Rivers State is a Christian state and that Nigerian Christians have no apology for the fact that the Muslim mosque was demolished in Rivers. Do you consider that as a sane society, or as a society where sane people reside? Now, when we talk of the Palestinian crisis or the Israeli-Palestinian crisis, and anyone feels that shouldn't be a concern, because it thinks erroneously that in Israel, that is what they say. How many number of Muslims do we have there? The person has forgotten, or seems to have forgotten, that even within Tel Aviv, Israel, in our entirety, you have a larger percentage or a larger proportion of the people there being Jewish, followed by almost 20% representing the Arab population. In fact, within Tel Aviv, the population of Christians is not up to 2%. Now, if any Nigerian Christian thinks that the Israeli-Palestinian crisis is a war between Islam and Christianity, that person is doomed. Maya, that person is doomed.
Doesn't know what he's doing.
He doesn't know what he's doing. It isn't a war between Islam and Christianity. Is Judaism the same thing as Christianity?
No.
How would an enlightened Christian, for crying out loud, think that the crisis is a war or a confrontation between Islam and Christianity? Secondly, Maya, we should desist from using the word crisis for what is going on in Palestine. It isn't a crisis. Though there has been a ceasefire. Anyway, but that should not prevent us from saying the truth. If anyone says it is a crisis, how is it a crisis? There are attempts towards ethnic cleansing. A people with their history, with their religion, are being forced, are being compelled to go on the brinks. And we are saying there isn't a crisis there. It is oppression. It is oppression. What you see taking place in Palestine is nothing but oppression. I'll give you a statistical data. Before 1948, there were 55,000 Jews. Between 1918 and 1948, but now we have, look at the number.
it keeps on growing.
It keeps on
It keeps on skyrocketing.
We don't know why. And anybody is sorry. Somebody here is saying it is. Do you see Islam and Christianity at the loggerheads in Palestine?
Not at all.
Are there not Palestinian Christians even in the mother Palestine?
That is the reason. What actually brought about this question is that in many areas in this country, there are a number of churches, who always use, the Israel flag. So I think that shows a kind of support for their cause. And from what I've read here out and what you've just said, so the larger portion of this Israel, these people are never Christians.
They are not Christians.
So now, Ustadh, I want us to please. That there are two questions that need to be attended to now. The first one is that how long do you think this ceasefire will last?
The ceasefire agreement will last in as much as the Israelis rather stop their aggressive tendencies against the Palestinians, and that may not stop. You know why? As we speak, Maya, there are over 25 different terrorist organizations, different terrorist Israeli organizations doing what? Stationed around the Kudus. What are they doing?
Over 25
terrorist Israeli organizations keeping an eagle eye on the Kudus, Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa itself. What are they doing? Why have there been Why has there been such an explosive number of terrorist organizations? Israeli terrorist Israeli organizations. What are they being employed to do? What is the purpose?
We will surely come to that.
So we can only have an everlasting solution like we are emphasizing only and only when the Israelis stop the aggression. And if they don't stop the aggression, they may go back to the status quo. And that reminds me of one other important thing rather that we should mention here. It isn't only the Nigerian Christians that are playing posol with respect to what is happening. We have a number of unenlightened Nigerian Sunnatic scholars, unenlightened or misenlightened Nigerian Sunnatic scholars.
How do you mean?
What I mean is simple, and you even know what I mean.
Could there have been a Sunnatic scholar who support killings?
There are.
Okay.
There are. To them, what we are tracing doesn't matter.
Okay.
They believe that whatever happens, are you following, within that region, and whatever reactions that follow, are you following, are perpetrated by the Hamas brothers. Are these people normal?
Okay.
The Israeli-Palestinian crisis has been there before the formation of the Hamas.
Okay.
When was the Hamas created?
Okay. Ustaz, this has begotten another question.
There are several dimensions to the issue.
So, now, we will, inshallah, in our next edition, may Allah spare our lives.
Amen.
We are going to talk about the Hamas contribution and the Kudus.
Okay.
Now, within 3 minutes, I want you to educate the entirety of Nigerians, the entirety of our viewers, however their religious affiliation.
Okay.
What should be their reaction towards the plight of Palestine?
That is simple. It is a simple way to go.
Okay.
What is happening in Palestine can happen anywhere.
Okay.
And it is something that can be avoided.
Okay.
Just as it was avoided in Sudan, between Northern Sudan and Southern Sudan. It is possible. I mean, its avoidance is possible.
So, I'm sorry to cut you short.
Okay.
So, you mean that there is affinity between what is happening between Israel and Palestine and that of Sudan?
A two-state solution worked in Sudan.
But UN had tried that. Why didn't they follow it up?
The UN is not getting it right. The UN is not getting it right.
How do you mean? How do you mean?
The Palestinian issue. What I mean is that how would you expect normalcy from an organization that is being financed by majorly one superpower in the world. What do you expect from an organization whose I'm coming?
Okay.
80% of whose budget is being financed by a nation. Whatever, whenever and wherever that nation goes to is where it goes. And whatever that nation wants is what she dances to.
Who pays the pipe?
So of course the tune. So that is what is happening. So going back to the popular advice.
Okay.
What is happening in Palestine? Let me repeat myself. It's not a confrontation between Islam and Christianity.
Or in any two religions.
It isn't on the surface. It isn't on the surface a religious phenomenon.
Okay.
Although when we dig deeper, we may see imprints of what is connected with our religion there. But as it were, it isn't politically, as it isn't religiously motivated.
Okay.
It is political.
Okay.
And why is it political? Some people are lording over other people.
Okay.
Some people are lording over other people.
Okay.
The advice is simple. You cannot speak of a particular activity, the modus operandi of which you are not aware.
Okay.
If you don't know what to say about the Palestinian issue, don't open your mouth to say trash.
Okay.
Look for where to read about what has been happening before now.
To read.
To know where exactly you should belong. Don't say that. Some people believe that you can never have Christians among the Arabs. So whenever anything bad happens to the Arab, it says that stops the Muslims. Well, that is a wrong notion.
Okay.
So what is happening there is what do you call it? It is a position that is going to put humanity at a tighter corner.
Okay.
And that is what we are witnessing.
Okay.
How I don't know rather how some Nigerians think. How would you feel comfortable knowing or being told that a number of children have been killed, probably through rocket? And someone we want to say that aren't the Hamas fighters throwing rockets? Can you compare what the Hamas fighters are throwing with what Israeli soldiers are doing? On daily basis, a number of Palestinians will die. On daily basis, a number of Palestinians will be incarcerated. On daily basis, a number of Palestinians would lose their homes. And this is happening right before everybody's watch. On daily basis, we know what the few Arabs in Tel Aviv in Israel are going through on daily basis. We know what they go through. We know what the Palestinians around Kudus, Sheikh Jarrah, we know what they go through on daily basis. So if anyone thinks that it is about the Arab palaver, that it goes beyond that.
Okay.
It goes because when it happened to the Jews themselves,
Okay.
in Poland,
Okay.
in Spain,
Okay.
every part of the world fought for them. I could remember when they were sent packing from Spain. If not for the magnanimity of the Ottoman Empire and the Moroccan Empire, the Jews wouldn't have had any place to live.
Ustadh, because of the time constraints, I wanted to include the role of Ottoman Empire, because whenever issue of Israel-Palestine surfaces, people do mention Ottoman Empire's contribution. Inshallah Rahman.
What is the sin, or what was the sin of the Ottoman Empire
Inshallah
against
Rahman,
the Jews?
In our next edition,
No problem.
we shall try to do justice to that. We pray Almighty Allah to spare our lives and
Ameen.
give us sound health.
Ameen.
So we say Jazakumullah khairan to Ustadh
Wa antum
for
fa
having you
jazakumullah
around again. Dear listeners, we say Jazakumullah khairan to you. My Ustadh has tried to strive to let us know the position which must be assumed by all and sundry in respect to what is happening in that region. We should be human. That is his position.
It should be humanly. It's humanly.
It should be humanly. However, your religious sensibilities, wherever you belong, just put yourself in those people's shoes. May Allah continue to spare our lives and grant peace into the entirety of the world. So this will mark the end of our today's program. So inshallah Rahman, we'll meet again tomorrow. So my name remains Tawfiq Maya. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.